Hi everyone, we are Group 1. Today we will talk about economy in recession. We will focus on Eurozone's economic crisis in 2009 and now, and how they deal with this problem. Okay, check it out.
In budgetary crisis, governments across Europe enact austerity measures. Many economists think that measures should down Europe's tentative recovery. The experts were that tax hikes and spending cuts could depress spending, choking off productivity throughout Europe. The government have slashed their budget with measures as diverse as cutting bureaucrat pay and freezing unemployment benefits. Europe's solidarity apathy, not an austerity that is going to push up unemployment and lead to a depression. A French economist called for the creation of Solidarity Fund for Stability to assist European countries in financial trouble. The International Monetary Fund has cautioned against going too far with spending cuts. Now, the outbreak of coronavirus in Europe is once again pointing to economic crisis. How should they solve this time?
Thousands of people are losing their lives to coronavirus in Europe, and in order to contain the spread of the disease, some countries have taken lockdown measures which have resulted in an unprecedented economic slowdown throughout the continent. To support member states on the front line of the crisis and to stimulate the economy, the European Union has put forward an economic response package. The package has been described as a safety net of liquidity to protect countries, companies, and workers from the impact of the pandemic. At a very early stage of the crisis, the European Commission took 4 steps. The first one was to suspend the Stability and Growth Pact, the EU's fiscal rules, so that member states could actually invest beyond their expenditure ceiling and in spite of debt and deficit levels to fight the COVID-19 crisis. The second was to relax the state aid rules, which are intended to preserve fair competition within the single market, to allow countries to support companies particularly affected by the pandemic or to invest in strategic sectors such as the production of medical equipment. Third, it channeled EU structural funds used to fight regional inequalities and proposed to ease the transfer between priorities and regions so that member states could make use of these funds in the coronavirus response, and this would create a pot of around 37 billion euros. Fourth, it proposed to extend the scope of the European Solidarity Fund so that it covers public health emergencies too, unlocking 800 million euros. But in an unprecedented crisis, this is not nearly enough. So the Eurogroup agreed on a 540 billion euro economic response package. The main instrument in the EU's package to counter the crisis is the European Stability Mechanism, or ESM. This is the Eurozone Rescue Fund that was created during the financial crisis. The ESM will make available a credit line under the name of Pandemic Crisis Support. This will consist of around 240 billion euros in the form of soft loans for countries. The ESM conditionality was the main bone of contention of the package and blocked its approval for days, as the Netherlands was asking for stricter conditions unacceptable for hard-hit countries like Italy or Spain. According to the final deal, though, the credit line will be temporary, but under the standard conditions. The only requirement will be that member states requesting support should commit to using the money only on COVID-19 crisis-related costs. The second pillar of the strategy is the European Investment Bank. The EIB will create a new Corona Fund worth 25 billion euros in the form of guarantees to mobilize up to 200 billion euros in loans. The fund is targeting the private sector and especially small and medium-sized companies. The European Commission also put forward its new SURE initiative, which stands for Support to Mitigate Unemployment Risks in an Emergency. It consists on a 100 billion euros instrument based on guarantees provided by member states and the EU budget. The aim is to give access to loans in favorable terms to countries particularly affected by the pandemic to help them finance temporary unemployment support schemes to keep people at work. Along with the fiscal stimulus that the EU has been cooking up, the European Central Bank has also intervened from the monetary flank. From the whatever it takes in 2012 to the extraordinary times require extraordinary action, ECB head Christine Lagarde announced that the lender will launch a new Corona bond buying program worth 750 billion euros to buy public and private debt in the markets. The European Commission estimates that the impact of the coronavirus outbreak for the EU's economy could be even greater than the shock provoked by the financial crisis back in 2009. At the time, the EU economy fell by 4.3%, so institutions and member states agreed that a recovery plan is needed to kickstart the economy. However, what form that plan would have and how it will be financed remain to be decided by the EU leaders in the coming weeks. 9 countries led by Italy, France and Spain are demanding the establishment of an instrument to issue joint debt to finance the recovery from the coronavirus pandemic, the so-called Corona bonds. But these temporary Eurobonds continue to be a no-go for countries like Germany, the Netherlands or Finland. What seems to be clear, though, is that the next 7-year-long EU budget will play a key role in the recovery plan. The European Commission is expected to present an updated version of the so-called multi-annual financial framework that should provide the basis for recovery while promoting the EU's priorities, namely fighting climate change, boosting the digital agenda and ensuring a resilient economy. The budget needs to be agreed by the European Council and ensure the consent of the Parliament. And even before the coronavirus crisis erupted, countries were already fighting over numbers, so the negotiation would definitely not be easy. The COVID-19 crisis is the most dramatic public health emergency Europe has seen in decades. Its economic fallout will be unprecedented. Whether this response will be enough to save the EU's economy while protecting its people is to be seen, and it is just a matter of time before we all find out.
After the video, there are lots of words, it's really difficult, so welcome to Suzhi vocabulary class. I will introduce some words for you. The first one is lockdown. In the video that shows like take lockdown measures. And lockdown means like a situation in which people are not allowed to enter or leave a building or area freely because of an emergency. So the sentence like the Secret Service is imposing a virtual lockdown on the city. Okay, and the next one is a part of around 37 billion euros. A part of means a large amount of something. Usually we will describe money. So the sentence line is she's got parts of money, means she's really rich. The next one is like deficit level. The meaning is like the total amount by which money spent is more than received. So we'll have the words bleeding red ink, the sentence meaning. Okay, the sentence line, the UK's deficit in manufactured goods grew slightly in the last 3 months. The last one is pillar of the strategy. Pillar means like the strong column made of stone, metal, or wood that support part of the building. But pillar of means like a very important member of a part of a group, organization, or system. So the sentence line means metal is a pillar of the local church. Okay, next one. The mobilize. Mobilize means like to organize or prepare something, such as a group of people or for a purpose. So the sentence line representative for all the main candidates are trying to mobilize further support. Okay, next one is intervene from the military flank. So intervene means that to intentionally become involved in a difficult situation in order to improve it or prevent it from getting worse. Okay, there's two sentences. The first one is that the central bank intervened in the current market today to try to stabilize the exchange rate. The second sentence is that the minister intervened personally to stop the museum from being closed. So you can see that there's two preposition words like in or to is okay for these words. Okay, the next word is like provoke. So in the video, the sentence is like the shock provoked by the financial crisis. So provoke means to cause a reaction, especially the negative ones. And the sentence line, the prospect of the increased price has already provoked an outcry. Okay, the next one is coronavirus crisis erupted. Erupted is really close to like pandemic or outbreak. So the meaning is like to start suddenly and violent. So the example is like at the end of a hot summer, violence erupted in the inner cities. Okay, next word is like fall down. The sentence is like its economic fallout will be unprecedented. So fallout means like unpleasant result of effect or an action or event. And the sentence line, the political fallout of the revelations has been immense. Okay, today's class is over, and thanks for your listening. We will see you guys next time, and let's go back to the Group Run Talk Show.
Hello everyone, welcome to the One Talk Show. I am on my way to today's host, and welcome our guest.
Hello everyone, I'm Fan Shengxiang.
I am Chen Qichang.
I'm Xu Zhuzhi.
Here are some questions about video. First one is, what is the European Commission? Could you answer this question? Fan Shengxiang.
Okay, the European Commission is executive body of EU political system, responsible for proposing legislation, implementing decisions, upholding the EU treaties, and managing the day-to-day business of EU.
Thank you. Next one, could Qichang tell us more about the fourth step in simple terms?
Sure. In short, the first one, European Stability Mechanism, provided life conditions to cheap loan to fight the COVID-19 crisis. The second step means to protect the single market, avoid price gouging, and allow countries to support companies particularly affected by COVID-19. Third, the structural funds are financial tools set up to implement the regional policy of the European Union. They aim to reduce regional disparities in income, wealth, and opportunities. Fourth, the European Solidarity Fund has been extended to include major public health emergencies, rapidly providing assistance, including medical, to the population affected by a major public health emergency, protecting the population from the risk of being affected, including prevention, monitoring, or control of the spread of disease.
Thank you. The third one is compare with the financial crisis in 2009. How much impact did this coronavirus has caused? Can you answer this question, Suzy?
Okay, the invisible enemy of the new virus is hitting the world economy. The medical crisis and the economic crisis occurred at the same time. The growth rate of the world economy 2020 may be lower than 2009. The financial crisis when the growth rate was negative. All aspects of the economy, financial market, demand and supply will be affected, facing an unprecedented crisis. Thank you.
The next one question about the video is, what are corona bonds? Can you answer this question, Shen?
Okay, the common bond issue in Europe is in response to coronavirus. The proposal was first proposed by European Central Bank owner, Ms. Lagarde. Its proposal is to enable countries with weak Eurozone economies to enjoy low interest rate in market. In other words, is to finance the recovery from the coronavirus pandemic.
Okay, thank you. The next question is in the video. You can know EU strategy to recover the economy crisis, but do you know how the Taiwan recovered it? Can you answer this question, Su?
Okay. At first, Taiwan's bailout scheme is to provide a subsidy to someone affected by COVID-19, focus on the companies such as farmer, fisherman, travel agency, and hotel. But right now, if you can prove your job is affected by COVID-19, you can apply for the subsidy from $10,000 to $100,000 NT. The following strategy is to distribute the shopping vouchers to citizens. Although government's strategy still have drawback, it still stabilize Taiwan's economy. So don't argue over why the process is so complicated or cheat the government by selling Magnolia. And that's all.
Thank you.
Yay.
The next question is, do you know some activity were canceled because of coronavirus, which make the host lose a lot of money in Titan?
Yes. In Taiwan, there are lots of activities cancelled because of COVID-19, such as 大甲妈祖 pilgrimage, Puma Night Running, which made the host lose parts of money because they have already prepared for that and spent money on it. Also, the biggest exercise activities, Olympics, which postponed to 2021, has significant impact on Japan. And if you are interested in motorsport like me, you will very boring in these days because Formula One and MotoGP postponed to third quarter of 2020.
Thank you.
Measure many in
We also just take lockdown measure. The meaning is like the situation which people are not allowed to enter. 然后看一下这个感觉如何。
它是反